this is an explanation of Baha'i marriage and family, and my guest is Mahnaz from Tajikistan, and we're going to explore together some of the concepts and application of Baha'i marriage. And Mahnaz has selected a passage from the Baha'i writings that in her mind needs some explanation. So I'm going to ask Mahnaz to read that passage in segments, and then we'll go ahead and explain it and see where we go and how we understand this concept of Baha'i marriage. Okay.
Thank you, Keyvan Khanam.
Okay.
Yes, I have a couple questions. I just read a very, as my understanding, interesting quote from Abdul Baha. It's a selection writings from Abdul Baha, and it talks about the Baha'i marriage. So I really would like to understand what does it mean. Baha'i marriage is the commitment of the two parties, one to the other, and their mutual attachment of mind and heart. So my question is, what does it mean, mutual commitment, mind and heart?
Mutual attachment. Okay. So I guess the first...
Right, sorry. So my question is, what does it mean, mutual attachment of mind and heart?
And there's a passage that comes after that. Maybe you want to read that part also.
Right. Each must, however, exercise the utmost care to become thoroughly acquainted with the character of the other, that the binding covenant between them may be a tie that will endure forever.
Well, exactly. So there are a whole lot of interesting concepts in there that we need to explore. So to begin with, I think we should start with the whole notion of human psyche as we understand it from the Baha'i writings and all those 5 zones in the Baha'i, person's psyche that we see a lot of references in the Baha'i writings. For example, in the prayer where we start with it, the spiritual assembly, is the mention of that our thoughts, our views, our feelings may become as one reality, manifesting the spirit of union throughout the world. So we're going to see the relationship between these aspects of the human mind. So in order to do that, I would like to draw a 5-pointed star where represents each of the zones represents one aspect of human mind and psyche as we understand it. So this is the 5-pointed star, and don't expect a perfect one because
no, it's a perfect. It's really
okay, first we're going to look at what we call sense perception.
What does it mean? What does it mean, sense perception?
Okay, very good question. This is what actually is referred to in the Baha'i writings as our physical powers. That means you have how many senses?
I don't know.
How many senses do you have? You are able to...
Actually, eye, nose...
Yeah, you see, you smell, you taste.
Right.
3.
3.
You hear.
Hear.
And you touch.
4, 5.
5. So these are 5 senses. We call them, Abdul Baha makes the reference to them as our physical powers. Okay?
Oh, it's very interesting.
Interesting, exactly. So sense perception means, this is the means, with our senses, basically we experience the world. Either we see the world, we smell it, we hear it, we touch it, or we taste it. You look at someone and you see their smile.
Right.
And you look at someone and you see their frown. So then you basically experience their smile or the frown, and then your experience starts to, you start to experience it. So now the question is, so what is that we do with our sense perception? We have to take a kind of a look at that and say, let's say that you sit in a room and way across the room there is somebody who you see smiling. So basically your eyes sees a smile. So the question is, this is the zone of feeling, huh? So feeling, which incidentally is considered to be a spiritual power, according to the Baha'i writings. So if you see somebody smiling, how would you feel? What would be the feeling?
My heart is getting uplifted.
Okay, so give me one name for a feeling.
Maybe
happy?
Joy.
Joy, happiness, very
joy.
Good. So you see the smile, you feel joy, and so this is intention. So that means there's something that you want to do, or it is intention, or want, or hope, or even desire. All of these are in this zone. So you see the smile, you feel joy and happiness. What do you want to do?
I want to give back the smile.
Exactly. So you want to give back. So this would be your action. So which is your action or your deed would be smiling back.
Right.
So you see, this is the cycle. This is the.
What about this one?
Very good. Very good. Now we're going to come back to that. So my next question is it possible that you see the smile, and but somebody else is sitting over there, they do not feel joy or happiness. They see the same smile, they feel very uncomfortable when they look at that smile. Is it possible?
Maybe.
So what is the difference between you looking at that smile and feeling happiness, and this person looking at that smile, the same smile, and feeling uncomfortable? What changes?
Maybe when, I don't know, my understanding, maybe that person can feel a joy, or maybe that person can, I don't know, it's a very good question.
So what could change that looking at the same smile, two different people, one person feels happy and joyful, the other one feels very uncomfortable, like just really...
Maybe because smile is not natural.
Okay. So what is it that makes them feel uncomfortable?
Not happiness, not joy, not
Yeah.
Not gladness?
Yeah, why not? Why is it that they feel uncomfortable? They feel EBGBs, they feel, ooh.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe that they don't like this person, they don't have a love.
Well, you're getting close to it actually. What it is that they have a particular thought about that smile. So what you're thinking is this person is a nice person.
Okay.
They are really smiling at me because they are happy and they want to send a very positive message.
Right.
So you're thinking a lot of positive thoughts about that smile that you're seeing. And as a result, you're feeling happy and joyful and you want to return the smile, and you do return the smile. The other person looks at the same smile, they might think this person has some issues or some ulterior motives, or they don't have a very clean mind, or all kinds of things, and as a result they're feeling uncomfortable, and
their intention
would be to disconnect, perhaps disconnect, and maybe their action to disconnect would be to look away. So one of the ways we disconnect from another person is to look away, not to look into the person's eyes and connect. So when we look in the other person's face, and especially their eyes, we connect with them. When we look away, that's one of the ways we put a wall. We would disconnect from them. So you see how the sense perception, what we see, what happens in the world, does not decide the whole experience. But what we think about what happens in the world is our thought that decides what is our experience.
So my question is, how's everything which one you draw here belongs to the quote. Which one I read?
Very good. So here we come to the realization that what Abdul Baha mentions, that man's reality is his thought. Man's reality is his thought. So our reality is not what happens, because what happens is completely irrelevant, independent of what we think about it. So because our reality is our thought, it is very important in order to join in a relationship with other people that we have a clarity of all the time of what are the ways we think and where is the source of our thinking. How do we manage our thought? What kind of thoughts we choose? What do we know about the whole process of thought? Because one of the things that is this wonderful passage mentions, that the two people, their thoughts and their mind and their heart will become one. So in order for you to be able to make them one, you really need to know what part of your process is your thinking, what is it you're feeling, which part is your intention, and which part is your action. So when you know all these components, then you're able to work with them, and you're able to look at them, and you're able to examine them, and you're able to adjust them, and then you have a communication based on these concepts with the other person, and you're having an ability to have a consultation or a relationship. Okay?
Wow, it's a very interesting. I never thought about this.
Well, now we have. There's a very fascinating. Actually, this is kind of a joke, but it's not really a joke. But it's very meaningful here, and it goes like this. It talks about the importance of knowing all these zones. That this person was a very good mechanic himself. Which is, he used to fix his car all the time. So one day something goes wrong with his car, and he tries every trick that he knows to fix his car, and he cannot. The car doesn't start. So finally he gives up and he says, I cannot fix this car, so I need to take it to a mechanic. And it really will be worth it, because I am really helpless. I've tried everything I can and I cannot fix it. So anyway, he takes his car to the mechanic. And so here it is, he takes it to the mechanic, and he says to the mechanic, you know, I'm a very good mechanic myself, but no matter what I did, I couldn't fix it. I really don't know what's wrong with it. I would really appreciate it if you can make my car work, because I need my car. And do you think you can fix it? So the mechanic lifts up the hood and takes a look underneath, and he says, yes, I think I can fix it. And he says, oh, that's wonderful. So how much would you charge? He says, well, I think I will charge about $100. This guy hears $100, he thinks, wow, that's really nothing, because this must be a very difficult thing, because you know, I tried everything I could, and it must be very difficult. And he's feeling really excited and really grateful and really happy to be able to get his car fixed with just $100. And then he just absolutely cannot wait to give him the money and get his car fixed. So he says, go ahead. So the guy goes, okay. So he puts the car over there, he takes a few steps back, he comes forward, and he shoves a big kick on the front of the car. And the engine starts going. And he says, $100. The guy hears that and he thinks, he didn't work anything, he didn't do anything, he just kicked the car. This is in his head, you know? And he's feeling really cheated. He's feeling very angry, very upset and cheated. That for a kick, he's paying that much money, and he wants to argue about paying him $100. So he says, what in the world are you talking about? You just kicked my car and you're asking me for $100? I'm not going to pay you $100 for a kick.
Wow.
So the guy says, well, wait a second, you know? That's not true. I only charge you $1 for the kick, but $99 for knowing where to kick.
It's a very good joke. I love it. It's really very amazing. So you have to know how can you do something.
You have to know where to kick yourself every moment, every day in relationships that you have in order to get the right result.
Right.
Because if you don't know that you're feeling upset and angry is because of a thought that you're thinking about the same thing that somebody else thinking something different and they're not feeling angry. So you will never know how to go back and really adjust your thought, choose a different thought and be able to have a different experience.
You know, it's very interesting how the deeds can come. So it starts with the sense, and then with the thought, and then with the feeling, and then come to the intention. And then, like in this joke, when it comes to the action, it can stop.
Well, it could be any of the zones could be the beginning of the cycle. But generally, we judge other people based on their actions. Generally, we judge ourselves based on our intention. And that can create problem because, you know, I'm coming and I step on your toe, and so all you experience is your toe is being smushed, you know, and you're thinking, oh, she just doesn't care, you know, she just is very sloppy, and you're feeling upset, and you're saying to yourself, she just basically did it on purpose, really, and my action created the problem in you. Now I basically judge myself based on my intention. I said, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do anything bad because I didn't do it on purpose. You're saying, you smushed my foot. I said, I didn't mean to do it. So here we have a discrepancy here. So that's one of the things that we have to consider. Always we judge ourselves by what was our intention. Other people cannot know our intention. Right. They only judge us based on our action. And that, in a relationship, can cause another problem. So, two people in marriage, they need to be able to talk about all these different zones with great comfort, to be able to have a conversation that can get them out of those little impasses where they can judge each other based on their action, and then the person judges themselves based on their intention. Exactly. But anyway, so now here what is important is that when we look at the Baha'i writings, we see that in order to be happy, first of all human beings have two selves. The Baha'i writings makes a reference to a higher self and a lower self. Right. The spiritual self or the animal self. In the terminology of the movie industry, we all have a Luke Skywalker in us and a Darth Vader with us. So the good self, the lower self. So what we say is that we have a higher self, the spiritual self, the God self in us, and we also have a small lower self, the Darth Vader self. So these two constantly compete within each person. So there's no person in the world that does not have these two selves within them. So any opportunity that comes that we have to make a decision, one of these two basically becomes the dominant one. One of these two is the one who opens the door and says yes. So depending on which one becomes in charge, we either manifest the spirit of the lower self or the spirit of the spiritual self.
I'm sorry, can I ask you a question? Do you think is it two self? One of them is a high self and another one is a lower self. Lower self. So is it two can become an ego? Well, one of them can feel that, oh, I'm so wonderful, I'm so great, and another one can say, well, I cannot do anything, I'm not be able. Something instead of this.
Generally, the spiritual self, when you look at it, basically is very much aligned with the teachings, the spiritual teachings of almost all the religions of the world. This is the self that wants to be truthful, wants to be compassionate, wants to be honest, wants to be in unity, wants to be in harmony, wants to be at peace, wants to sacrifice, wants to make others happy. This is the spiritual self that really is very much identified in the spiritual teachings of all the luminaries of the world. You see the same principles of character in the teachings of Moses, of Christ, of Buddha, of Krishna, of Zoroaster, of Muhammad, of Baha'u'llah. Be kind, be compassionate, be loving,
so
be
all
patient.
the virtues.
All the virtues are basically the characteristic of this self, plus the most recent values, and I'll explain the values because they two go hand together. This self, basically, when I said this is like Darth Vader in Star Wars,
right?
This is the self which is very self-centered, is very selfish, is basically insecure, is the one that lashes out, is the one that gets jealous, is the one that separates itself from the others, doesn't see itself in unity with others, is the one that wants to be superior, is the one that wants to be over, is the one that wants to have all the power to dominate. This is the lower self. This is the Darth Vader. This is the Luke Skywalker. Now, both of these live in each one of us. And somebody, they say a Native American grandpa was walking with his
I remember
son.
that story.
You know?
Right.
It says that we have two wolves in each one of us. And he says the son which one gets to be making the decision? The grandpa says what?
Which one to which one you give more food?
Exactly. Whichever one you feed, that one gets to be stronger. So that means what? Feeding means the kind of thoughts that you entertain that is of this kind, of the lower self. The more you entertain lower self thoughts, the stronger lower self becomes. So it's very important in order to know the character of the other person in marriage. We need to know the patterns of their thinking. What are the bases of their thinking? What are their values? Where do they come from? Now here we come across something very fascinating, and that is the difference between values and virtues. I'll explain that. This is very, very, very fascinating. You see, in the Baha'i marriage, we have the passage that says the vows when they exchange, they don't say, you know, I will be faithful to you, you be faithful to me. They don't say, I'll be good to you, you be good to me. That is not the agreement, that is not the commitment. The commitment is a triangular commitment, which is very interesting and fascinating. And generally, this is the only triangle in relationship that elevates both people. Most triangles in psychology are really not very good. For example, if two parents triangle with their own child, that means the child gets caught in between. And whenever the parents fight or get angry, the child, you know, becomes sick, or the child does something naughty, so the parents will disengage from one another and attend to the child. And this triangle actually is unhealthy triangle. There is one triangle in psychology that not only is healthy but elevates the two people. And that triangle is where this upper zone of the triangle is the source of adoration of each one of the couple. The point where they want to draw and uplift themselves towards. So let's say if each one of the couple here, when they get married,
you see a wonderful heart.
Exactly. So each one of these have a relationship with this luminary, this point of adoration, that is the source of their values that reach up to. So as they try to climb up towards him, that means to become like their luminary, to become, as Baha'u'llah says, to become, as Abdul Baha says, to become as their point of adoration advises. As one becomes that, the other mysteriously might also be inspired to go that way. As this person is in the face of maybe a mistake that this one made, if this one is compassionate and kind, that means this person becomes more godlike. The other one might be encouraged also to become more compassionate. As they climb up this ladder,
they're helping to each other.
Their distance becomes what?
More close.
Less and less and less and less. And in the values that this entity presents, they become one. And the importance.
So when it can be? By the end of the life?
Depends on how they are able to basically get rid of as much as possible of this and become more of this. Because when they become about their values, they become one. And I'll explain the difference between values and virtues. Now, what are some of the virtues that we know? Give me some virtues.
Joy.
Okay, joy is a virtue.
Love.
Love is a virtue.
Happiness.
Happiness is a virtue. What else?
Let's see, the respectful.
Respect, very good. Acceptance. These are all, let's say these are for the sake of, these are virtues, right?
Right.
Okay, now, so now we come to the value. The question of value means love in everybody, perhaps, let's say everybody understands love the same way. The question of value means who do you love becomes about your value, right? For example, you might say that during the time of Moses, people loved the people within their own tribe. But anybody who fell outside of the tribe, they didn't love, they didn't care to love. And in fact, many times they basically took each other and killed each other and fighting and all kinds of things. So the attribute or the virtue of love was basically there, nothing different than now. But the value at that time that they practiced was love only people that are near you, your family, your tribe. But if it goes outside of that, they don't deserve your love.
Right.
Okay. Now, what has changed from the times of Moses and Christ and Buddha and Krishna to the time of Baha'u'llah is the values that Baha'u'llah teaches has changed.
So Baha'u'llah teaches us that it's not enough when we love family, it's not enough when we love our nations, it's more important to love all the earth.
The whole world.
The whole world.
Exactly. Not only that, he gives us even...
And it's become unity.
Exactly, exactly. Even to the point, he says, if your love for this entity becomes the cause of disunity, that it divides you from other people, you should set aside that religion and stick with loving all humanity. So you see, this is a different kind of value system. So a person who has that kind of a value system, when they look at someone being from a different culture, being from a different race, being from a different gender, they are taught, according to the Baha'i values, that men and women are equal. They are like two wings of the bird. So therefore, in marriage, one does not try to dominate the other. Exactly. So the whole dynamics in the marriage
will be healthy.
Changes. Whether healthy or not, it changes to where they are both two wings of the bird. Why maybe it was okay and healthy in 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago.
But not now.
Exactly. For the male to be dominant and the female to be subservient. But Baha'u'llah has changed those values and say, no, the values for today is both of them are going to be the two wings of one bird. So the virtue by itself is not going to be really enough to know. The value that you apply to the virtue is going to be more important than the virtue itself.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing. And the reason actually of the coming of a new messenger is really changing the values, not changing the virtues, because the virtues are eternal.
So changing the value.
It is a changing of values. So it's a progressive revelation of values that requires the coming of the new manifestation to the world.
So is it basically progress to the soul, spiritual soul also?
What do you mean progress to the spiritual soul?
When I can change my understanding, so my life, my spiritual soul is also growing up.
Well, you see, during the time of Moses, or during the time of Christ, or during the time of Muhammad, you were not expected by the Divine Spirit, your maturity was at the level as a human being, that you were not expected to see men and women as two wings of the bird. So basically, men were more superior, they were in charge, they would command, and the women were basically subservient. So that was not a requirement of the age. It's just like when you're 2 years old, your mother does not expect of you to be able to do certain things, and therefore you're not accountable for that. So they guide you. If you go near the fire, they come and slap you on the hand and pull you away. But when you're 16, they expect from you to be able to drive the car.
To carry tasks.
Carry tasks, go drive the car, do something, and bring it back, and be responsible for certain things. So every age, the Divine Spirit expects certain levels of maturity from us. At the age, in the dispensation of Baha'u'llah, the expectation is that we have a different set of values in relation to one another. The expectation is we do not look at each other and see another person's darker skin and think that they are inferior to us because we have a lighter skin. These values have changed. Baha'u'llah says, all humanity is one. You're flowers of the same garden. The colors should be different.
We have to see the virtues.
We have to apply the virtues based on the new values. That means we are going to love people of all colors the same. We are going to consider equal, whether it is a man or a woman. We are to provide education. Actually, Baha'u'llah says for girls, we provide even more important to give education for girls because she becomes the mother and the educator.
She is the first teacher.
Exactly. So you see, while the values of the previous ages was the father is the one who gets the education, if there was one, because he goes and brings the money. So breadwinning was more important than education of the children. Now, during Baha'u'llah's time, education of children are more important than bringing the money. So you see how the values change. So it's very important to know what are the values that are given to us through the teachings of Baha'u'llah. And in marriage, those values make a big difference. Because in the past, the way you love you love someone, maybe you control them, you tell them what to do, that's how you love them. Well, in this new age, Baha'u'llah says that it's not going to work. No, it's not going to be the best you can do. Now you're supposed and required to be able to do consultation. Which means what? Means you have to be able to say, what did I see? Say, I saw you smiling. I thought you were not really very sincere, and I felt uncomfortable, and I just didn't want to talk to you. And that's why I shifted my face. We see how important it is in order to know the character of the other person. That we really need to know who?
Our partner, ourself first of this.
Exactly. First we have to know our own self.
So if I don't know what I want, how can I find a partner, and how can I find this value and virtues in a partner?
Exactly. Not only what you want, but if you don't know how your process works, what is it that when you feel sad, what is it that you need to do in order to feel not sad? Basically, if you don't know that, you have to go back to your thoughts and examine your thoughts and say, okay, what is it that I'm thinking about? If you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to operate your own car. You don't know how to fix your car.
Right.
then you are not going to be able to really walk along with another person, and you will not be able to consult, and you will not be able to come to some kind of a conclusion and harmony and understanding with another person. So the Baha'i writing says that there is only one person. The Guardian says there's only one person you can change, and who's that?
Yourself.
Exactly. That means you really need to know how to operate yourself properly, and how to constantly adjust your values. Every time you say your prayers, basically you're tuning your values. Because let's say when you say the long obligated prayer, you're tuning your values. You say to God every day, you say, do not look upon my hopes and my doings.
Right.
Nay, rather look upon thy will that has encompassed the heavens and the earth. That means you're saying every day, I'm not going to insist upon what I want. God, I will defer to what you want. Basically, you open a window and you say, I'm willing to consider other hopes and desires. That means in that space, your partner, your spouse, should be able to introduce some desires, and you should be able to talk about it. So you're not a closed-minded person. So every day when we say our prayers, we are basically tuning our values. And as I tune my values, you tune your values, he and she tunes it, the possibility of us having harmony and understanding amongst ourselves increases. It is a vow.
You know, you changed my mind.
How?
Before I came here, I thought that maybe that person to whom I'm supposed to marry have to help me. But now I'm understanding it's not just only what is that partner can give it to me, what can I give it to him? Exactly. How can I do something that that person will be more happy? And basically right now my understanding is the husband and wife, they cannot grow up separately, because basically my understanding that husband and wife, they cannot grow up separately. They have to grow up together.
Yeah, this is friendship.
And they have one purpose in their life: service.
Yeah.
Service, like Shoghi Effendi said, service. There is no success in the world like a service. Service. This is a magnet which can divine the confirmations.
On the condition that when you are serving, that you are able to have a consultation with your partner. So this service brings you closer, because like everything else, even the belief in God can become a source of separation. The ability to consult, the ability to understand the other person. Let's say that one person says, well, I want to go and offer this kind of a service to the community, and let's say the other partner say, well, service is fine, but at this point this is where we are in our life, and maybe we should be doing this kind of a thing. So this ability to hear one another and to be able to consult and to be able to understand is going to be really at the heart of a friendship in marriage, because it's like having two people putting each one of their feet in a sack, and they are hoping to get to the top of the mountain. Well, there's going to be a lot of discussion how they get to the top of the mountain.
But they have one purpose.
The purpose is get to the top of the mountain. But however, how they get there is going to be needing a lot of consultation. Exactly, because one of them says, well, you know what, my leg is just basically now is in the cramps. I'm not going to be able to go. And that's the other person, well, the whole purpose of life and marriage is service. I'm going to get up there no matter what. Well, you're going to leave the other person behind. So you have to be able to see things in the bigger picture, and to understand that marriage has got a lot of challenges. It's a lot of work to be able to walk in harmony with another person. Has got to do a lot with you knowing all the components of your own self, to be able to adjust them, to be able to elevate them, to be able to tune them, to be able to consider other alternatives of thinking. And so it takes a lot of different works.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your wonderful lesson. I enjoy it so much.
Well, I hope that this discussion, this conversation that we had, it would be a good opening for an understanding about Baha'i marriage for others that they have never heard about it.
Of course, and I'm hoping this is the not last lesson.
Yeah.
Maybe we can continue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, here, before we finish, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is John Mahmadova. I'm a Baha'i from Tajikistan and I'm pioneering here in the United States.
Okay, and I'm Keyvan and I'm a licensed marriage family therapist who integrates the Baha'i writings into its practice, her practice. So it was wonderful to be able to share this with you and see what happens.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.